always been tricky for arena comp balance. So we recently, for beta, took Mortal Strike all the way down to a 10% healing debuff, which is going to be, that's going to have ramifications. We're not entirely sure of them. It's going to be good for some guys and bad for others, so we'll see how that goes.
Thank you.
Hey, I've been playing a mage since the beginning of Vanilla, and I was curious if you guys have any plans for Frost Mages to have any additional abilities on their water elemental.
Sure. Can't say we've got plans for it right now. It's always a possibility for future expansion. The water elemental, we'll have to see how the permanent water elemental shakes out to know, how much we can really invest into it. At least in the past, because the pet wasn't out all the time, it didn't make sense to stack it up with a whole bunch of abilities that you might not even have the opportunity to use. So depending on how survivable they end up being or how frequently you end up keeping them up, could affect that decision. But that's probably going to be something that we consider in a future expansion or something like that.
Thank you.
Hello, guys. So in case for the amount of abilities that Prot and Red Paladins do have, and if there's too many, and it might end up that it does get a little complicated to keep them all up, what do you think if you guys were to cut out one or two of the abilities, which ones they would be off the top of your head if you ever discussed that?
Was it Retribution or Protection?
Both, actually. They both have quite a number.
That's a good question. We've
Hand
talked
of Justice, Hammer of Justice.
Divine Shield. There are a lot of cooldowns now. We wanted to make sure we had that kind of gameplay with, like, how do you match, say, Zealotry with Wings, and are you supposed to use them at the same time? Are you supposed to use them at opposite times? That's a good thing to look at. We certainly could have gone a different way where we took away Avenging Wrath and kind of baked that into, made that the new Zealotry or something like that. We'll also have to see with abilities like Inquisition. We like having the big, like, now I do higher damage kind of ramp up thing. We've done it a lot with rogues and druids. If that ends up feeling too maintenance-y and kind of a pain in the ass, then that's certainly something to look at too.
Thank you.
I want to start off by saying thank you for making PvE sub viable again. It's really a great spec, and it's actually interesting to keep all of our cooldowns up. Based on that, though, it seems that Shadow Dance has become more of like a energy producing ability as opposed to a DPS increasing ability. I was wondering if that was the intent, or if that's just how it happens to be at 80.
I'm sorry, I heard Subtlety, but what was the individual ability you mentioned?
Shadow Dance.
Oh, Shadow Dance, yeah. So, of course, the challenge with Subtlety is we want that to be the rogue spec that's based around being sneaky and kind of, attacking someone out of the shadows. And too much of that kind of gets into the rogue problems we're trying to fix, where they either pull it off and the enemy's dead, which is awesome if you're a rogue, or you screw it up and you're dead, which is not so awesome if you're the rogue. So all of those kind of like the movement, the sneakiness are supremely difficult to balance, which is why we always run into so many problems with Subtlety. We'll see how Shadow Dance plays out a little more in... We haven't done a ton of high-end level 85 PvP in beta, so that's a great thing to keep an eye on. I wouldn't say that we went out of our way to change the function of the ability. It's more of like trying to make sure that it's not such a binary thing that either works or it doesn't.
Thank you.
Hi. I was just wondering, with the Moose Mount, during the Olympics, Stephen Colbert gave it the Colbert bump, and I was just wondering, do you hate Canada for not introducing the mount, or was it, do you not fear Stephen Colbert?
Obviously, we hate Canada. Not really, no. We've got Canadians on our team.
I think we discussed the moose mount yesterday as well, and the consensus was that we wanted one, but you can't always get what you want. I know.
Were you guys talking about moose mounts?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were saying like the moose mount, the special ability would be that it would stand in the middle of the road, and then the goblin car would come and run it over. and then it would fall, and that's about it.
I'm thinking Sparkle Moose myself.
With wings. Hey guys, Kawan from Moonrunner, senior officer in Untold Retribution. We're looking for tanks. My question is actually in regards to healers. First of all, I love what you're doing with the healers, how you kind of made it back to vanilla healing. But I play 3 out of the 4 healing classes, and I'm kind of stuck on what to do with Holy Pallies, because priests have always used Spirit, and druids and shamans now revolve around spirits. So with Holy Pallies, are you supposed to stack Spirit or Mastery, or how does that work in with the other healing classes?
You definitely, all the healers should want Spirit, you know, up to a point. I wouldn't make that. Players sometimes look at things like reforging and gemming and enchanting, and it's like, oh, I'm just going to stack the one stat. If we do our jobs right, all of the stats will be attractive, and a balance of them will be, you know, will be the ultimate way to go. Now, Spirit's one of those things that once you have enough, you're probably good, and then you can start looking at other things. And it's definitely true that on live, the healing plate doesn't have as much Spirit as some of the other gear sets do, because we just didn't, you know, it used to not be a stat anyone would want, and even MP5 was something Paladins would want to avoid. So there'll be more Spirit and definitely more of a need for it as you level up higher. And we want the Mastery to be cool too. We'll just have to see how that goes.
Thank you.
Hi, Aetherius of Casmoden here. I'm a Resto Druid. I wanted to ask you a question regarding the Emerald Dream, and if we're going to see any incarnation other than a phase, and just, you know, a separate map, dungeon, raid, expansion. I mean, can we look forward to that?
I think you can count on it. It's a matter of when, not if. So eventually, when the time is right, you will see the dream and the nightmare again.
Thank you.
Nice hat.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Nokomis from Zangarmarsh. And first thing, I have a little suggestion. I think that dwarf shamans should have beer keg totems. And also my question is, I'm an achievement fiend, and I was just wondering if you're ever planning to use, you know, let people use their achievement points, because I know you have that new list of, in the, I don't know, the numbers like 1, 2, 3 in your guild, and I was just curious.
Depends on what you mean by use them. I mean, really the achievement points are intended to be like a high score mechanic, and really that's all they're meant to be. We don't have plans for people to translate them into character power or anything like that somehow, because that would cause a lot of really icky behavior if everybody felt like they had to go out and get every achievement, because if they didn't, they wouldn't be competitive or whatever. It's really just meant to be a pride and fun sort of thing.
Yeah, that was the reason behind adding that into the new guild UI, was just kind of like, so you could look in the guild, kind of like a pride thing, like Tom was saying, just to see who has the most within the guild.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank
That's
you.
a cool idea, too. I like the beer keg totem idea. Can we use that? Can I have that, please?
Hello. First, a shout out to the Earth and Ring roleplay community. My question is, well, there's a lot of great mounts coming out with Cataclysm. I was wondering about multi-person mounts, particularly profession-crafted ones, and if there are some coming out, I think engineering should get a minivan.
Have you heard about the new alchemy mount?
Yes! Oh my god!
That one's going to be hard to get. It'll be fun to see who gets it first.
But it's awesome.
But it's awesome. Who doesn't want to mount their friend? I mean,
Can I say that?
yeah.
Thanks.
How you guys doing? First of all, I'm glad to hear you guys confirming the new legendary, but my question is, will the legendary be available in both 10 and 25? And also, will it scale similar to the way Valinir did, to where it lasted upwards to 2 contents higher and was still viable?
I think that we, at this stage, we'd probably want the legendary to be available for both 10 and 25. I mean, there's... As far as, you know, how far it scales, that's really hard to say. I mean, we do like it when legendaries stick around longer than normal items. I mean, they definitely should do that. But it's always tricky to balance exactly how far out it goes. It sort of depends on where in the expansion cycle we are relative to when the next expansion will come out, that sort of thing.
Thanks.
This is Ecolian from Arthas, and basically, I originally liked the idea that you guys had of lowering the talents, but now I've kind of noticed I really hate the fact that there's no uniqueness anymore. Everybody's going to be the exact same number of specs or number of talents for marksmanship for marksmanship hunters, and they're going to put the same amount into survival. There's not going to be any difference. There's no uniqueness. So I was wondering if you were ever planning on going back to extending it and giving us more options, and it's just kind of become more noob friendly. I was wondering if you guys were going to do that.
Damn noobs.